I'm ready.
Okay, having reached the hour of 6:30 on Monday, May the 4th, 2020, I'll call this regular council meeting for the Township of Terrace Bay to order. Item 1, and we have another electronic meeting. I welcome everybody from the public here. Please be patient. We're still learning about this new technology and how to use it properly. Item 2, additions and approval of agenda items. Are there any additions?
No.
Item 3, declaration of pecuniary interest in the general nature thereof. Councillor Malashewski's put in
7A. 7A.
7A. So noted. Item 4, CAO update. Mr. Hall, item A, report on waterfront development.
Thank you, Your Worship. So as Council is aware, the waterfront development project in its modern form has been ongoing for about nearly a decade now. The project was tendered in early 2020, and the tender submission date was February 6, 2020. 6 bids were received. They're attached to the report. The lowest submission coming in from RML at $3.654,610. And that's construction costs net of HST. All bids are significantly over the estimated total project budget of $3,010,523. Included in the tender prices are the costs associated with the reconstruction of the intersection of Konogami and Beach Road, as well as the retaining wall at the corner of Highway 17 and Konogami. So that'll be important in a minute. These projects were tendered with the waterfront project, but do not represent waterfront project costs, approximately $302,000. Not included in the tender prices was the cost for construction of a power line down to the site. This was separately quoted and tendered. So current discussion, awarding the project was not an option for administration with a significant price difference on the original tender. Reducing the scope and retendering the project was also discussed, but determined to be disadvantageous given normal inflation and complications related to the worldwide COVID-19 pandemic. In order to move the project forward, administration and KGS Group have been working together to reduce costs through reductions in specific items, aspects of the project, and through negotiation with the lowest bidder. The reductions or eliminations from the project have been done strategically so that they do not impede current construction to take place. They can be added in at a later date. Reduce the cost without reducing the overall scope of the project. Maintaining the vision for the project of Council and the Waterfront Development Committee, but also for our funding partners. Some of the reductions include the contractor's trailer, the boardwalk. A section's been removed west of the pavilion building, and timber supports are being used throughout now. Site lighting has been reduced. Boardwalk edge lighting has been revised due to the change in boardwalk length. Parking lot paving and other improvements have been removed. Granular paths between the road that goes east of the beach and the boardwalk have been removed. The well installation, the quote's been revised, and landscaping has also been reduced. And there's drawings attached to the report that show the before and after to the cuts that administration is recommending. Other reductions in costs, so the electrical work, we've received better pricing from contractors compared with the Hydro One quote we were originally working with. Some other implications, administration has had positive conversations with its funding partners. Administration is confident in the responses received on whether or not the changes to the project would impact the funding amounts. Both agencies have provided that, in their opinion, the changes as presented in this report are not outside the spirit of the funding agreements that currently exist, although both have also indicated that amendments to the agreements are probably needed, especially given the implications of COVID-19 and construction delays. The project timelines, for instance, will need to be amended. With respect to the Community Development Committee, Waterfront Development Subcommittee, Council had previously expressed following any changes to the project to reduce costs, the revised works must be presented to the WDC. And on April 29th, 2020, WDC administration and KGS Group met via Zoom to discuss the changes presented herein. While disappointed with the higher costs, the reductions, the committee at the time of the writing of this report was unanimous in its support the project moves forward. We have since received a letter from one of the committee members indicating they are no longer in favor of the project moving forward, which I forwarded to Council on the weekend. Council approves the changes to the process of the changes. The process moving forward is as follows. Council approves the increased budget. Council awards the project and approves entering into an agreement with RML. A bylaw approving the construction agreement with RML is brought forward, and council can decide how to fund the additional costs, whether it be out of reserves or out of borrowing. In terms of financial implications, there will be an increase to the municipal contribution to the project. This is what we're talking about. The project as originally tendered had the township contribution at $402,000. The revised budget, with an increase in contingency related to COVID-19 complications, requires nearly double the commitment from the township. So we're clear. The exact amount I think is $798,000, but during discussion we can just say $800,000. So it's double the amount. In order to move the project forward, administration is recommending the additional funds come from reserves. However, this can be discussed at a future meeting if council wishes to explore other options. So option A is that council approve the increase to the township's portion of the project to $798,643, and the project be awarded to RML Contracting based on a revised construction price of $2,968,739, and a total project cost of $3,407,143. Option B is council does not approve the budget increase or moving forward with the project and direct administration otherwise. Given everything that I've gone through, administration is recommending option A, that council approve the increase to the township's portion of the project to $798,643, and that the project be awarded to RML Contracting based on a revised construction price of $2,968,739 and a total cost of $3,407,143.
Any questions on the motion? We haven't had the motion read yet, but anyhow, any questions on the project? Who would like to go first? Nobody?
Now, we say that our funding partners think that that funding is going to remain. What happens if it doesn't?
So we would have all that in place before we finally sign the actual contract with RML. But all indications from our funders are this is still a go, and they're not going to sweep the rug out from under us. Was I think one of them used that term. So
okay.
So with an amendment, we would require to amend the agreements with them for timelines, and at that point we would determine whether or not they were going to sweep the rug out from under us if that was going to happen. But both meetings we had with the funders, both indicated they were confident again that the project as it's been amended still meets the spirit of the agreements that we signed back in the day to actually get the money. However, there's no guarantees. I can't guarantee 100%. I would never say that to you. So
no.
Certainly there is a small element of risk there, no doubt.
Hey, John, compared to the other two big projects the town took on in the last 10 years or so, how does this compare for the township, how much money the town is putting into it, i.e. the downtown revitalization and the Mike King Hall project?
I don't have those figures at my fingertips, sorry. I know the downtown was over budget as well by a significant amount. I just don't know exactly how much. So, I wasn't here at the time, sorry, I just don't have the history.
Also St. Louis?
Paul, to answer your question, those projects were funded, I think, on like 90-cent dollars. So for every dollar we put in 10 cents,
yeah.
Right? Dollar we spent. So yeah, even if we were over, this wasn't anywhere. This is a way bigger hit to us than what that was.
The other one, if I may, the downtown project, it had to be cut back big time too from the original scope. The Michael King Hall, that area, that was mainly a federal funded thing, and that come in basically on budget. We didn't have to tap any more money on that one. Michael, Laura?
Yeah, just a couple of points. With the waterfront, with the Gorge project, that's going back quite a number of years that I was involved in that. And that project didn't come out as we had anticipated it. There were some reductions in the scope of the work done there, although the project did come in on time and on budget. And again, your reference to to the downtown revitalization. There was a number of changes made to that project before it finally went forward. I think that the only question I have with regard to going forward tonight, we're being asked right now to pass a motion to go forward with this, but we haven't determined how we're going to fund the variable that we had originally agreed on.
Okay, John, can you answer that one?
Sorry, what was the question? How we're going to fund it?
We had talked about either taking money out of reserves or taking out a loan or some such fashion. And has that, I don't know if that's been determined yet.
No.
No.
Hasn't.
So in the report, it does say that administration is recommending we take the dollars from reserves. And in discussions with the treasurer before the meeting, that would be his recommendation if we were making that decision tonight. We don't need to make that decision tonight, but we will bring it back if council wants to, us to explore other options beyond reserves.
From my point of view, John, if we do pass this motion tonight, then I would like to look into having a short-term loan and spreading it over several years like we do with purchases of heavy equipment. At least consider that, because lending rates are pretty low right now. But that's just under consideration, especially I'd like to hear what the treasurer has to say on that. Okay. I'm not hearing too much negative about it, but we're going to have to suck this up if we want to move ahead. Project. We've been working on this a long time. We've had to scale it back because of the typical costs that small communities get from the estimates from our consulting engineers as to what we need for the project. It seems by the time we go for bidding for the project, we're about 40% out, so we have to scale back. It's too bad we can't get that straightened out and actually have a project come in that what the estimated costs are. But regardless, that's a fact we have to face for this particular project. I don't believe that we're going to be fortunate. Who knows in the next little while of the next several years, at least, whether they're going to be funding projects like this or not. I think we need to move ahead, take advantage of the money that we got, the $2.1 million grant that we have from the federal and provincial government, and move ahead and do the best we can. People are looking forward to it. I think it's a good project. It's too bad we can't do it all, but we're trying to be a little fiscal responsible. And so I looked, any other questions on that? That's all I have to say. Bert?
I'm, really disappointed that where we've had to go from, a 13-cent on the dollar contribution by the town to 23%. But the 2.6 million in funding, I think we still have to go ahead with it because we could very well lose the whole thing if we don't.
Paul?
Yeah, I can't, we've been working on this now, or the town has, Jody, for whatever, 15 years or so. And I really can't see it going ahead if we don't approve this. Construction costs going up, stuff like that. If it costs you town $800,000 now, it'll cost them at least that, if not more, if they want to do it later.
Yeah, okay. Rick?
Just to add further to what you guys said, I think we pretty much have to look at doing this now because look at what's happening right now. All levels of government are bleeding red ink like you wouldn't believe. I don't know if there's going to be any money if we put this off and come back and look at it at 2 years. So I agree with you. I think whether we like it or not, we don't really have a choice. We got to go now.
Okay, any other questions? Mike?
I agree with the rest of council, what's been said. It is a project that's been going on. Actually, when I was working for the town back in 1995, we thought we had done waterfront and done studies then. I think it's time to move forward. As Rick has said, money's only going to get tighter, not looser. and we're not going to get this getting now. So I think that we need to follow through on this and get the ball rolling.
Okay. So there's no other questions. John, could you read the motion?
Yes, I can. Resolve that council approve the increase of the township's portion of the project to $798,643, and that the project be awarded to RML Contracting based on a revised construction price of $2,968,739 and a total project cost of $3,407,143.
I'd like a mover on the motion. Bert, Councillor Bert. Seconder, Councillor Malashewski. Hearing any other discussion on the motion? Hearing none, I'll call the motion to vote. All in favor, hands up. Hands down. Opposed? Motion is carried. Thank you very much. Let's move on to the next. So thank you very much for KGS attending the meeting. If you're welcome to stay for the rest of the meeting, and we hope to have a good relationship working with you as we move forward.
We look forward to it as well.
Thank you. We look forward to it. Take care.
Thanks, Jeff. Thanks, Alvin.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Item B, 4B, bylaw 1-2003, bylaw to establish road maintenance standards. Councillor John.
So this was asked to be put on the agenda by council, I believe, for examination or discussion at the very least. So that's why it's on tonight. There is no accompanying report. It's a bylaw that was passed in 2003. I suspect because of changes to the Municipal Act at the time. Again, I wasn't in this sector at that time. I was still in university. However, what it does do is it actually establishes minimum maintenance standards for highways from potholes, shoulder drop-offs, clacks, debris, surface discontinuities, all the way through snow accumulation, icy roadways, and posting of warning signs. So.
Okay, I guess I was probably the main reason, or one of the reasons why this was brought up. And as a review, I've asked how the plowing of the snowplow removal and how the plowing went, decisions were made. I see in the standards that it's 4 inches, basically 10 centimeters, and that the crew is assigned on that basis. My question is, I think the crew does an outstanding job, but sometimes, particularly twice this spring, and other times over the last number of years in council that I've been on council, I think on the roads when it hasn't been necessary. So my question is there any flexibility in this? Do we need to look at this? Because I think we're doing an unnecessary cost to equipment, and when it doesn't need to be done. So I'm looking at some flexibility. Can we put that in there into the bylaw? And I'd like to, and if it's not too much, I'd like to know, what does it actually cost us to do a routine, regular operation of doing a plowing procedure for the town for a day period? Because, yeah, that's the 2 questions I have. And who makes the final decision regarding going out and doing the plowing? I know the responsibility comes back to the CAO, but who makes the decision? So that's some things I'd like to consider, and we can take our time. I don't know if anybody else has any thoughts or to bring up on this. Mike?
I've looked over the bylaw, and I don't see any area of concern with regard to what's there right now. I think the issue, again, as you've identified, is more a question of one of timing and necessity of plowing, and whose call is that to get the plows out and do it. I think if we look at the surveys that we've done over the last number of years, with the residents' feedback on maintenance of the municipality, we get really good marks for the work that the public works crew is doing. And I wouldn't want to get into a situation where that's going to be jeopardized. So for my part, I think that it's worth having a discussion to review who makes the call as to when the plows go out and what kind of work gets done. But in terms of the work that is done, as I say, the results that we see are very, very satisfied community.
Okay. Good. Councillor St. Louis?
I'm kind of like Mike here. I read the bylaw over and I like the bylaw. The writing in it is good. I don't see anything overly excessive as going out. I think it goes right back to what the both of you guys just said is we need to just make sure that we keep our eye on the ball, that we're not going out when we probably didn't have to. Most of the time when you get complaints about this, the person complaining it's about the overtime, right? They're always worried that we're paying overtime that we shouldn't be. And then they harp at us about that. And by the way, they're very few. But it is something we should be watching. I agree with Mike, the general overview, when you go and actually talk to the people in town, they're very satisfied with the service we provide. And like I said, with the one or two people that are harping about us overdoing it, it's just, I guess we just have to be conscious that we might be in a few situations and just keep an eye on it.
Okay. Councillor Malashewski?
Yeah, look at I'm quite satisfied with the way they do it. Just look at the conditions of our roads in the wintertime compared to other municipalities in the area.
Yeah.
You know, you need a 4-wheel drive to get around in some towns, and the roads are bumpier, no heck. And Terry and his crew are doing a good job, and I think whatever they're doing, they should keep up doing it. I mean, whatever snow doesn't get plowed off the road in the wintertime, you're going to pay for it in the spring. So.
Okay. Anybody else? I just want to clarify my position on this, my questions. The regular plow removal, snow removal, going out early in the morning, I certainly understand that. I'm not questioning that. I'm questioning sometimes when we actually do go out and plow, do we need to be doing it? Because sometimes there needs to be a smaller amount of snow, or the snow is the day it snows, we know it's going to be melting probably by the end of the day, and is it necessary? So anyhow, just something for administration to look at and consider, and I appreciate that. John, is there anything else you'd like to ask or anything?
I guess the one thing would be is just so council's aware, this does establish minimum maintenance standards. So if we are cleaning higher than those standards, that could be something you're seeing as well. On the other end of things, you've asked the question, who should be making the call when the plow goes out? Are you thinking that council should make that call?
I didn't say that. I just asked who was making it.
No, I'm asking the question.
No, I do.
Okay.
So should be making it. No, we don't want to get into running it, and just trying to find out who is running it. Is that a reasonable question?
Yeah, I guess I don't understand when you say who is running it. I mean, Terry's the superintendent over there, and anything he runs by me. I mean, I don't make the call for the plows to go out. I'm not a roads guy. I don't have any training with respect to that. I would hate to venture into to say yay or nay on a given snowfall, but at the same time, this policy is from 2003. It's 17 years old this year. Certainly we can take a look at it, and we can bring back a report with some recommendations at a future meeting.
No, I have no problem. Now I know who's making the final decision on those calls, and I appreciate that. I didn't know that before this meeting.
Well, you were correct earlier when you said that the buck does stop with me. There's no question there. But I don't directly go out with the ruler in the morning, and I'm not saying that to be sarcastic, to measure to see if the 10 centimeters is there. I don't believe that should be my call either. But council has raised concern with respect to cost, and overall management responsibility of the township does fall with me. So we will be diligent in looking into that. That's not a problem.
Okay, I appreciate that Terry is making the decision, and I think the right person to be making the decision. I just didn't understand that until this moment. Okay, Councillor Moore.
I think the issue here is more a question of a little common sense on before we do the plowing. If we know that the snow is going to melt within the next 24 hours because it's late spring, you know, maybe we plow the roads, but we don't do parking lots. I don't know. But I think that it's something that it's a judgment call. I think that the crew should be able to make themselves. In other words, they should realize that, the snow is going to melt in a couple of hours. There's no sense going out, or we don't need to do areas outside of the major arteries, and leave it at that.
Okay. I'd just like to say that I'm not talking about, my concerns aren't revolutionary. The fine tweaking of and controlling the costs where we can control them. And if there is an unnecessary plowing or maybe not to need to do it, I'd like some flexibility. I don't think we have to live by hard, fast rules, but that's not my decision. And anyhow, that's what I'd like to just bring for consideration, John, and I appreciate that. And Terry and his crew do a good job, an excellent job, and I appreciate that. Okay, any other questions on that? Okay, no. we move on to item C, Cleanup Week 2020, the landfill.
So on an annual basis, the township usually conducts the spring cleanup week in the month of May. The marketing of this event typically takes place around this time, with Public Works Department ramping up and planning and staffing. With the current COVID-19 pandemic situation, the 2020 plans may look slightly different. COVID-19 is presenting logistical and safety concerns from administration's viewpoint with respect to normal spring cleanup activities that would typically see our public works personnel collecting curbside refuse based on a different area of town on different days. So a few years ago, we moved to, instead of doing the whole town three times a week or 4 times a week, we do the north side, say the first day, the south side the second day, and Terrace Heights on the third day. Fourth day, I believe, is recycling, and the last day there's no collection curbside, but there's landfill. The fees are still waived. At this time, administration is recommending not to offer curbside collection, but to still offer landfill site availability for free for the scheduled week. The safety of our employees is the driving factor for this recommendation. As an alternative, if and when the health guidelines change, possibly in the fall, the township could offer a fall cleanup week and offer this curbside pickup at a time if deemed appropriate and safe to do so. Financial implications: the cleanup week of waiving the tipping fees, along with additional attendant wages for increased hours at the landfill site, have all been included and approved within the 2020 municipal budget. So the options are: option A, approve the spring cleanup week as presented, attached with tipping fees at the site being waived for the duration; or option B, do not approve spring cleanup week and direct administration otherwise. Administration is recommending option A, approve spring cleanup week as presented, attached with the tipping fees at the site being waived for the duration.
Any questions or discussion on the motion?
No.
Paul?
I like having the option of having a fall cleanup. That'd be a good idea.
Okay. Would that happen this year then too, or just what would, if we changed it to a fall cleanup, John? I'm sorry, I need to understand what the difference would be.
So certainly there's several variations we could explore. If we were to do something in the fall, we might be able to do something 3 weeks in a row, where on garbage day, the first week would be the north side, the second week would be the south side, the third week would be Terrace Heights. At that point, we hopefully will be out from under some of the COVID restrictions, but in our case, we'll have a better supply of PPE and a better understanding of what our procedures should be in terms of social distancing and being able to protect our frontline workers that way. We wouldn't probably waive the fees at the landfill during the fall, because we've waived them now and allowed people to still bring their material out during our scheduled cleanup week this month, excuse me. But household hazardous waste day is still scheduled to go forward as well. So that's why we would keep the cleanup week in May as well.
Okay. If we do that, would be a great deal to ask if we could do a costing of that, or if we did that extra stuff, what it would actually cost?
Sure.
Am I the only one in council like to see that, or were the other councillors interested?
No, I'd
Costing
like
for doing these extra cleanups.
Oh,
So there would cleanup would be moved from now till the fall. It wouldn't necessarily be extra.
Okay.
If that's what you're like. And again, with the landfill fees waived now, we wouldn't waive them in the fall if this is how this will unfold.
Okay. Thank you. Councillor Rick St. Louis.
John, are you planning to ask Schreiber to kind of follow the same dates again?
So they've been waiting for us to make a decision, and unfortunately our council schedule fell till tonight, so they're going to be looking for us to inform them tomorrow.
Okay,
So certainly we know people are going to be disappointed with if council votes this way in a second. But people are going to be disappointed without curbside, but we do plan to bring it back in the fall once we have more certainty surrounding COVID.
okay.
Pending further council decision, of course, as well. If council decides later in the summer they don't want to have curbside for whatever reason, we can also adjust. But right now, that would be administration's intent if you're asking that question. Sorry, Councilor Moore.
Go ahead, Mike.
Okay, my understanding then is this is going to be a one-off deal. We're going to do it this fall, and then next year, as long as there's no COVID to worry about, we're back to a spring cleanup.
Correct. That would be the intent.
Thank you.
Everybody okay with this? Go ahead.
Yeah.
John, would you read the motion?
Certainly. Resolve that council approves spring cleanup week with no curbside pickup and with tipping fees at the landfill site being waived for the duration.
Okay. Any further discussion? Mike? Rick?
No, I'm good. I was just gonna make a motion. Good.
Okay. Rick's making the motion. Seconder?
I'll second.
Mike? Further discussion? Call the motion vote. All in favor, hands up. Hands down. Opposed? Motion is carried. Item D. That was that. Oh no, spring cleanup. Is that the same thing?
No, this is with respect to bylaw 29/2014, and specifically with respect to street sweeping and sweeping of lawns, Your Worship.
Oh yeah, I read that. Yes, sorry. Go ahead.
So there is a bylaw on the books that says essentially thou shalt not foul the highway, which means you can't put snow or ice or dirt or debris or garbage onto any municipal roadway. And this bylaw has been on the books for quite some time, even before 2014. The provision was in the previous bylaw before we consolidated a bunch of bylaws into one. However, I believe in 2017, we had some residents come in and request that council provide some relief from the bylaw to allow for the sweeping of front lawns, the spring sweeping of front lawns, to get the the sand from winter snow operations off the lawns and onto the roads. So this has been working out pretty good for the last 2 years. We do see some increased grass at times, but we typically have very cooperative citizens. But administration is recommending we move forward with this again. It's just a resolution is required for council to essentially tell bylaw enforcement to relax or suspend the enforcement of the fouling of the highways provisions on 29/2014. We issue a notice to residents that explains very clearly what can go on the roads from the lawns, but also how to leave the sand as well. We don't want the sand piled. It becomes very problematic for the street sweeper. It wasn't designed to pick up copious amounts of grass or sticks or larger rocks. So it just causes us more maintenance concerns when we're doing street sweeping operations. So street sweeping has been going on now for about a week and a half. It will continue, and we will make a second pass in June, giving people the opportunity to clean their lawns off. So again, we're going to be vigilant out watching for grass and the things we don't want. But other than that, I would recommend we pass the resolution suspending the enforcement as we have in previous years.
Any questions? Paul?
Will the public get a notice when they can't put anything on the roads, John, in June? Like nothing on the roads after such a date?
Yeah, we can definitely put out a second notice. We had some one-offs in years past where people had done it after we'd gone out sweeping, and it caused some problems. So it's not a problem, and it might help, and we'll definitely utilize our social media to the best of our abilities, and possibly get Mayor Davis on the radio at the time too to remind the residents that this is your second and last chance, so to speak.
And if we do pass this resolution tonight, John, can we have the notice go out by the latest, the middle of April, so that people are aware that not to put stuff on, especially the grass, onto the sidewalks?
Certainly not a problem. COVID obviously played a part in the delay in this, but moving forward, we'll definitely try to have it out much earlier in the year. And also, we had a bit of an earlier spring here than we were anticipating. We thought it was going to stay frozen or at least a little bit snowier for a bit longer, but looks like we're only getting cold weather, not the precipitation. So, but yeah, duly noted. We can take it to earlier in the year for sure.
Okay, I'll ask John to read the motion.
Resolve that council approve the enforcement of the fouling of the highways provisions of bylaw 29-2014 be suspended with respect to spring lawn care until spring municipal sweeping operations have concluded.
Okay. I'd like a mover.
I'll move.
A seconder, Mike. Thank you. Any questions? I'll call a motion vote. All in favor? Hands up. Hands down. Opposed? Motion is carried. Thank you, John. Reports from Department Managers, Public Works. Selkirk Sidewalk contract.
Okay, so the report tonight is regarding the Selkirk Sidewalk replacement agreement. At a special meeting council held March 9th, council approved the award of a tender to RML Construction of Thunder Bay in the amount of $173,600 plus HST for the replacement of approximately 200 meters of concrete curb and sidewalk on Selkirk Avenue. In order to proceed with this project, council must authorize the signing of the attached standard CCBC stipulated price agreement between RML Construction and the Township of Terrace Bay. The associated costs for the above project have been included in the approved 2020 municipal budget. The options are council approve the signing of the attached agreement between RML Construction and the Township of Terrace Bay and the appropriate bylaw be brought forward, or option B, do not approve the signing of the agreement and direct administration otherwise. Administration is recommending option A to proceed.
Thank you. Any questions?
No.
Within budget, and we're ready, aware of the scope, so I'll ask John to read the motion.
Sorry, I was on mute. Resolve that council approve the signing of the agreement between RML Construction and the Township of Terrace Bay, and that the appropriate bylaw be brought forward.
Okay, looking for a mover. Bert, seconder, Rick. Any further questions? Hearing none, I'll call a motion to vote. All in favor, hands up. Hands down. Opposed? Motion is carried. Thank you, Terry.
With respect, Your Worship, I just need to point out a point of order here. We missed item 4E.
Oh, sorry.
It was all hidden down there at the bottom.
Okay, before we go there, I just want to ask is, and these two contracts, they're not essential at one time. The government's changing the rules. Are we now allowed to go ahead and begin the actual work on those projects?
So I can let Terry chime in a second. My understanding is the sidewalk is exempt and we can go forward with that. The waterfront development project is another case. We're working with KGS to determine what exactly we're allowed to do. The government did release as of 12/01 on May 4th that municipal projects that are of essential nature, something along those lines, the wording. So we need to figure out, municipal projects can go forward, but that essential wording in the first sentence of that section still gives me some trouble on determining whether or not our project can go forward right away. Terry, any comments on either of the things I just said?
Oh, I think our sidewalk project is good to go for sure. The other thing, probably maybe some portions of the beach project development we may be able to go forward with my thought.
Thank you very much. Okay, we'll move over to item 4E, bear trapping for the 2020 season. John?
Yeah, my apologies for not noticing this earlier, Your Worship. I noticed because I scrolled through the resolution and saw it out of order. So basically, we need to reappoint our bear trappers for the 2020 season. We do it on an annual basis. So we do have the same two as last year, Mr. LeBlanc and Mr. Dennis. And it's just a simple resolution and discussion. We have a policy in place that dictates how we trap bears. We haven't had any communication from the MNR yet. There have been a few bear sightings in town, but hopefully it's not an indication of a particularly bad year. But we do have the trap to dispatch when we need bear trapping in the community.
Okay, thank you very much for that information. Okay, item 6, adoption of a minute.
There's a resolution there, Your Worship. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
Resolved that council approve the employment contract of B. LeBlanc and P. Dennis as certified bear trappers from May 1st, 2020 to November 1st, 2020 for the Township of Terrace Bay.
We need a mover, Paul, seconder. Bert? Any discussion on the motion?
No.
Hearing none, call the motion to vote. All in favor, hands up. Hands down. Opposed? Motion is carried.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to move to item 6A. Okay, adoption of minutes. We have the minutes before us. So are there any errors or omissions? Noting none, I'll ask the motion to adopt the minutes. I'm looking for a mover. Mike?
Also move.
Seconder? Brick? All in favor? Or John?
Resolved
You have
that
to read the
council
motion?
approve-
Okay, John wants to read the motion, do it the proper way. Okay, John, read the motion.
Sure. Resolved that council approve the minutes of the council meeting held April 20th, 2020 be approved as presented.
Okay, thank you. Now I'll go back to the mover. Who's the mover? Mike, seconder. Bert, seconder. Thank you. No errors or omissions. Or ask for a vote in favor. All in favor, raise your hands. Hands down. Opposed? Motion is carried. A little glitch in the system. Okay, passing of accounts. I'll ask John to read the motion.
Resolved that council approve the payroll register for March pay periods 5 and 6 in the amount of $86,365.96. Be approved.
Okay, mover.
Also
Bert.
move.
Seconder, Mike. Thank you. Call the motion to vote. All in favor? Hands up. Opposed? And motion is carried. Okay. Bylaws.
So there is one bylaw before council tonight, and that's with respect to the Selkirk Sidewalk Replacement Agreement. I do have a motion. Resolved that a bylaw to enter an agreement with RML Contracting and the Corporation of Township of Terrace Bay for the Selkirk Sidewalk Replacement Project be read a first, second, and third time, and finally passed, signed by the mayor and CEO clerk, sealed and numbered on this 4th day of May, 2020.
Thank you. Mover. Rick, seconder. Paul. Okay. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call a motion to vote. All in favor, hands up. Down, hands down. Opposed? Motion is carried. Thank you very much. There's no other business, resolutions. We're in the public question period. Is there any questions from the public?
Oops, hang on. Doesn't appear so, Your Worship.
Hearing none, we'll move into closed session. Thank you very much for those of the public that attended. This portion of the meeting is over.
Just to pass the resolution to go into closed.
Okay, you want to read that, John?
Resolved that council proceed in camera in order to address matters pertaining to, under section 239 of the Municipal Act, one matter with respect to personnel matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees regarding the CAO clerk performance evaluation.
Okay. Mover? Mike, seconder, Bert? All in favor, hands up. Hands down. Opposed? Motion is carried. We're now in closed session.
Thanks, guys. Have a good night.
Night.
Thank you.